Water is such a metaphor for life, isn't it? For so many different things, but somehow I'm finding myself reconnected with a parable. This guy tried to question him and he said, "Tell me what I need to do to have life eternal. To be fully restored into the image that I'm supposed to be. To be redeemed, renewed." So the man asked back, he said, "Hey, you're a smart and wise dude. I know you've been around, you've read a few things. You've been instructed in the ways. Tell me what it is that you understand." He said, "Well, if I had to sum it up into two things, I'd say that we need to love God and we need to love our neighbors." And Jesus said, "Man, if you do these two things, I promise you, you will share in life eternal. You'll experience it." Sometimes we get the answer, just wasn't the answer we were looking for. So we're not satisfied. And this man, he dug in further. Now, truth be told, he was probably trying to catch him saying something that could be used against him. And so he came back with this other question. He said, but who is my neighbor?" And so the story begins. And we've lost the art of storytelling. Like this man, today we want answers hard, fast, and right now. I want to know everything. But in this day, and in this time of age, we told stories. And we try to do so now. But a story beckons us to become part of it, to realize who we are in the story. It's a character, right? And we always want to be the hero. We always want to be Conan the Barbarian. We want to be Superman. And we've heard this parable, this story, this metaphor so many times. I think it's become white noise. We assume that we know what it's all about. It's supposed to be a State Farm commercial. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And so we read it as a commercial to be the guy who stops on the side of the road and helps somebody out like the insurance company does. And in so doing, I think we miss the point. You see, this story starts off, and he talks about this man who's traveling down this road. Something happened, man, and he got left for dead. Everything he owned was gone, stripped naked, beaten almost to death. And sometime later, a man comes down the road. He sees him, and he decides to do nothing but to walk on by. Another character enters the story, and he too walks on by, passes him right by. Now, as it turns out, I think most historians look at this day as happening on the Sabbath. And that's why the priest and the Levite didn't stop to help him. Because they had commandments themselves to help those in need. But in this case, they could have been faced with an ethical dilemma. Because on the Sabbath, they had to remain clean. They couldn't get blood on them. They couldn't work in any capacity. And I think sometimes we make decisions. And I think more often than not, just like these two, we choose poorly. We pass by the one who needs help. And the story's not done. Another character enters the scene. And he's not from around here. He's an outsider. He's despised by all the locals. We can't stand him. We spit in their face. We like to rob them. We like to get in fights with them and show them who's boss, who's got the power. Because it's not him. He's one the good people of this land would spit on, would just assume God smite and smack down. Prayed to God in heaven that he would forget them, destroy them, wipe them out off all eternity. So the Samaritan enters the story, and he sees this man who's been left for dead. And instead of passing by, he stops. He says, I can't not stop. I see that you need help. I see that you need saving. I see what they've done to you. And if I have to, I will take it on myself. And I will pick you up and carry you into town. I will pay the debt. I will bear the full burden of restoring you to life. And then Jesus says, who in this story acted as a neighbor? And this is where it is, man. This is where it is. Who acted as a neighbor? Because we think this story is supposed to be about us. We listen to stories, we watch movies, and we always want to be that hero. We want to be the savior, the one who's making a change. But Jesus, he says, now tell me who acted as a neighbor. And one day when I read this, it hit me. I'd been reading it wrong my whole life. I haven't been reading the whole meaning. And it's right there in this question. There's two questions. Who acted as a neighbor? Who is my neighbor? And too often, this is the one that we latch on to. Who acted as neighbor? Go and do likewise. Go be that good neighbor. And we certainly should. We should live selflessly for the sake of those around us. But what about that man's first question? Who is my neighbor? Was his question answered? And the answer is it was. The answer to the man's question of who acted as neighbor is the one who helped, right? The one who stopped, the one who wouldn't pass him by, the one who spoke into this man's life. But the answer to the first question is also here. It's in these two characters. You see, the man asked Jesus, who is my neighbor? I don't know if you see it yet. But the way Jesus posed the question in the story answered the man's first question of who is my neighbor. The one who acted as a neighbor is the neighbor. The one who stopped on the side of the road and said, I am here to help you, is my neighbor. If he is our neighbor, then what does that make us? What does that make the hearer? That makes us the one who is left for dead. The one who needs saving and redeeming, renewing, needs the water of life to experience life eternal. Here, now, and forevermore. We have to change our perspective. Because as much as we would love to be, we are not the saviors. God willing, we're a vessel that can point somebody else. But what we need is ourselves to be pointed back to God. And sometimes it's the one that we despise. It's the least of these. It's the ones we don't care for. Whether it's a political, sociological, ideological standpoint, the one that you look down on is your neighbor. The ones that you rebuke and condemn, they're your neighbor. My God. We are all on the side of the road, left for dead.